Good morning, everyone. My name is Jared Morrison, and I'm an organization development consultant in the OSU Extension Learning and Organizational Development Unit. And we're excited to have you here this morning for the ACEL to Extension series. We've had this series now. This is the second go-around or second year. And it's a great partnership with the Department of Agricultural Communication, Education, and Leadership. So we're excited to be working again with the ACEL department. And today we're going to be jumping into time management with Dr. Scott Scheer. So thank you for being here. And I just wanted to briefly call out our website. It's go.osu.edu/acel2extension. And you can find more information about upcoming webinars. All of the recordings for whichever webinars have passed will be posted there as well, and links to registration for the upcoming sessions. So thank you again for being here. Beth Flynn, thank you as my counterpart and organizer on the ACEL side. Both of us working to bring all this together. And Dr. Scheer, thank you so much for being here today on time management, and I will hand it over to you.
You bet. Thanks, Jared and Beth and everybody for joining today. Again, taking time, no more than an hour out of your day today. So thank you for doing that. As we're looking at this important topic, I don't consider myself an expert on this, but certainly work at it every day and have done some lit reviews and whatnot, looking at time management and how to do that better and effectively. And of course, right now, we are dealing with all kinds of things, and including teleworking, working remotely. And so I think it's very timely in trying to figure out what are best ways for each of us to manage our time. So again, thanks everybody. Do go ahead and open your chat box. There will be a couple of times during our session that I'm just going to ask general questions, because you all are going to have some good input that we can all learn and share from each other. So do go ahead and open your chat box so that you're ready to go as we share with each other. Just a little bit of background about myself. I know for me, it's something that I mean, just today, as I try to figure out, okay, how am I going to manage my time? How am I going to be productive is important. And that can vary from day to day, depending on what goals and expectations you have set for yourself. So for me, it's an ongoing challenge. Certainly hope to provide some insight and knowledge for you, but I don't consider myself the here-all and end-all for time management. I know you're going to have some good ideas too today, which will be helpful. I am a longtime OSU employee. I know some of you all are too. Some of you maybe are just starting. And so hopefully the years of my experience with OSU and of course OSU Extension can be helpful as we look at how to better control and to manage our time. And just also some more background, just again, strive to improve both mental and physical health. We are important in the sense of a whole being or person. Sometimes it might be just, okay, what do I look like? But it's what's going on, mentally and physically that really can help us when we want to manage our time effectively. And so that's something I work at, both my mental and physical health. And we'll sort of look at some ways about how to do that as we go along. Okay. Just like you to sort of respond right now about, how are you doing with your time management? And just sort of can be a shout out in the chat box. And I know that for me, it's, okay, could be better. So go ahead and just chime in and we can sort of get an idea of what's going on. Work in progress. Yeah, life is good. Yep, some days better than others, you bet. Need to work on it. Distractions, a lot of distractions. Depends on the day. Yep, how you set expectations. Y'all are just coming fast and furious. Wonderful. Yeah, Beth or Jared, if there's some that stand out, please share those.
I saw one that really stuck out, and it's getting buried in emails. And I think that a lot of us would agree with that, and then Zoom fatigue also.
Yeah, I see it quite a few like having to write everything down. I've
Saw
heard
that too.
that from a ton of people that if they don't write it down, they forget it.
I like the one taking one day at a time. I think that sort of helps on the mental
Mhm.
side too. Yeah, especially with sort of the uncertainty or the unknown that can cause that extra anxiety and stress as we try to manage our time. That's a good one. Sticky notes. I like sticky notes too. I mean, I've got big, I've got small, I've got fluorescent, but yeah. And it varies from person to person how that might work. I feel like I work longer. Yeah, yeah, because if you're teleworking, I know I'm in my office today, but often I'm at home sitting at my dining room table and it stares at me and it says, sit down, sit down. And it might be 8 o'clock at night. And no, no. And so, yeah, I feel like I work longer, you bet. Distractions. Oh, yeah. And, family's important. And so whether that is your kids or older adult parents or pets, those are challenges too. And so, yeah, these are excellent. Yeah, thank you. And so, you can on your own too, you can scroll through these just by scrolling up and down. So, yeah, very good. All right. Let's go ahead and just dive into things about time management basics, during these uncertain times. Was before we started today was just sort of talking about some conferences and potential travel like in the spring. And, right now, OSU has not said, what will be allowed or not allowed. So there's that uncertainty. We know through December 31st, any official OSU business is not allowed. And so that's that uncertainty as we just try to map out our schedule. I know, I think somebody mentioned about, just sort of laying out a schedule. And so sometimes we just can't even do that like we have been able to in the past. So that uncertainty makes it challenging for us as we're trying to manage our time. But let's go ahead and just look at a few of these right now about being busy is not equal to being productive. And I think the point behind that is that what are you going to accomplish today, or what are your goals for today, or maybe even that week, maybe even big picture. And if being busy equates to accomplishing those, that may not always be the case, because what are we being busy at, right? Are we busy looking at Facebook? Are we busy just making sure we have no emails in our inbox? Email for me can be an issue where I just need to, best said, just go ahead and close it, because we're going to be hearing the ding, 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 and which I actually have turned off my notifications, because that can be certainly a challenge. So think about that being busy is not equal to being productive. And then, if you're teleworking, you look over and you see that, dusty little nook area. Before you know it, I wish I would do this, but no, you get up, you wipe it. We still have some dusty little nooks, but those kinds of things can keep us busy. Maybe it's blogging, gardening. Gardening can be very healthy, but again, be cautious about not equating being busy to being productive. Okay. Another sort of basic area is just the ability to say no is important, and just that, can't we can't do it all, right? And sometimes, I want to say yes all the time, and I realize I can't do that. That's not good for me, and it's not even good for the folks I'm trying to help sometimes, because I'm just not able to give 100, whatever, 75%. That's going to do a nice job for what I'm being asked to help out with. So people will honor that, and you don't have to give a reason, why, just that I'm not able to right now. And so keep that in mind about that. You can't do it all. Okay. The other piece is that right now, when we think about stress and anxiety and health issues, mental and physical, it's okay to not be okay and to recognize that. What's wonderful about OSU and what we have in OSU Extension is we have the Employee Assistance Program that we all have. And so take advantage of that just to get that support, through counseling. Sometimes I know there's group sessions, where it's folks all in the same situation. And so please keep that in mind, because it is very possible just to, reach overload. And don't feel like you have to be a super person, a super being, because that's not realistic, right? And then think about managing your energy, rather than just time alone. We're going to discuss this a little bit further about maybe certain times of the day that might work better, for you, and what and when you are doing things, can be important. And so these are just some things to keep in mind that we will, some of these are sort of standalone, and on some of these, they will connect to what we're going to be looking at here as we move forward. So what I've done, everybody I think has the handouts, thanks to Jerry. There's like a handout, which is an overall synopsis of what I'm going to be sharing with you today. And then I think Jared also has actually shared these slides, so you've got them both. But again, you can always reach out to me for further discussion. But got these two categories as we think about time management. One is time busters, which are things that can hurt us as we manage our time. And then the other is time boosters, which are strategies to help us with our time. And I know everybody joining us today has thoughts about these, and we are going to do some click chat, or I forgot, Beth and I came up with something during one of my webinars before. We're going to do some click chat. Anyway, I'm messing it up, but just like you all have done already as we share with each other. But I'm going to share with things that I have found in the literature, but also things that are just from personal experience and from learning from others too, okay? So let's just start right off with time busters. So time busters are, I don't know, for me, sometimes even a bigger challenge when it comes to getting about time boosters. Time busters, again, time busters are the things that make it difficult for us to manage our time. And so, the first one I have here is multitasking. And this is where, everybody has probably a perspective on this about, I'm a multitasker. I can be doing scrambled eggs and doing Zoom at the same time. Now, maybe so if you're listening, right? I do have to say I brought the laptop into the kitchen at times when I'm a participant, and I think it works okay. It just depends on, so as long as there's no fires. But the idea where you're not just a participant, but you're actually engaged in 2, 3, maybe 4 things, that can be a challenge. And when we look at the research, it seems to show that even when it comes to folks who will classify themselves as, hey, I'm great at multitasking. What that means is that if you're trying to answer an email and you're also, like, for example, working on putting a presentation together or a webinar. And so if you need to be creative, and not creative, but if you need to be on target in the sense of doing your email, I've got 2 screens here. So as I'm looking over here, I'm looking at, my email is not up, I'm looking at another screen. But if you're doing email, working on that presentation, what's happening to our brains? We're having to start, stop, stop, start. And that's what, when they look at studies with this, is that we actually lose time. Because to get back to that point where we were takes a little bit of inertia. Startup time. Stopping, you can just stop quickly, but then to start back up on that other task is where we lose time. So caution. I'm not saying that, for our multitaskers, I like to think at times that I'm a multitasker, but I know when I need to do things that require my attention at the same time, not background music, not petting my dog, although that can get out of hand. But if I have to give my attention to two things, that's where the literature and what we know says can be a time buster, a time sink. Okay, so keep that in mind. All right, here's a big one. Okay, here's a big one, distractions. As I'm going along here, you're probably thinking, I've got this idea or that idea. Be thinking about that. You can add some things on chat, but in a couple slides, I'm going to ask us to chime in about your time busters. Okay, so we're going to go over some now, but keep that in mind. Distractions. Already mentioned one, and this is just solo, not even multitasking. Email, and these are important things. Pets, family. One of our participants, Steve, says, I've got to set time to come into the office to separate home from work. And so some of us are able to do that, not everybody, but those are big boundaries. I know for me, because, I've been teleworking, even with teaching. I mean, my classes in general are in person, but I have done some of my classes with my students online. And the thing I know I find now for me, because of telework and whatnot, is home is not sort of, this gets, I think, at mental health too. It's not the respite, it's sort of not the getaway place that it used to clearly be for me. And I don't know, I need to work at getting it to be that, but for me, that's sort of sad. I mean, sad in the sense that, I have to be careful that it's not, I think that came up on some of the chat, that it's just calling me to sit down and work. You're working longer. And so, again, pets, family are important, but if it's during a time frame where you need to work, that can be a time buster. Social media, wow. I mean, social media, as we know, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever, it's set up to keep your attention, right? Because they make more money that way, right? They're not really interested in the content. Their strategy, as we know, is to feed you things that you're interested in. And because of that, what happens? You stay on it longer. You keep swiping. They don't really care about what you're looking at, but you are going to look at some ads maybe that will pop up no matter what. Or they're going to bring you in this direction or that direction to keep you from setting down this crazy device, right? And so that too, can be a huge distraction. House cleaning, hey, it's sort of good, right? But again, at some point, hey, the house is okay. We need to get to work. So these are just some distractions. Online shopping list, Chris, exactly. Online shopping to the list, right? I mean, what happened just the 13th and 14th? Did I pull up Prime Day? It wasn't Prime Day, it was Prime Days, right? The 13th and 14th. Yes, I did. Did I buy something? Yes. So yeah, online shopping, because right, we're already online. So yeah, and we're gonna get more of your input here real soon. Lack of boundaries, again, if you can at times go in, you got very good, Angie. Yeah, so lack of boundaries are hard right now in particular. Think about what works for you in setting those boundaries. Can you go into the office where it's considered safe, you're not breaking any protocol? In my department here on campus, we have density guidelines or policy, literally, where I think it's like 25%, but as I would go out right now in my office, there might be 2 people. When I came in, there was 1. We could normally have 15 to 20, and it's been okay. We've kept that density, but we have to do it in a strategic kind of way, where if we all decided to show up for our OSU policies, that would be a problem. And so lack of boundaries, think about how you can deal with that, okay? Working at home guilt. I mean, what's that about? Well, I mean, I know I have it at times, which is silly because as I think it was maybe Robin, somebody mentioned, we're working longer actually. Hey, do not have this guilt, okay? And I know I can just say it, but, and I know that we can be flexible with our time, we should be, right? Because you might get up and start working early or work later, and then you might have some flexibility in the time to help your child who's doing virtual classes, that's fine. But still look at the big picture, okay? That you still have boundaries and you still have your time dedicated to work, however that's divvied up, and it doesn't go overboard either, okay? This is not from the literature. This is one of mine, snack attacks. I mean, thank goodness I'm in the office right now because I'd be reaching over, and I actually can. But I brought in some good things, an apple and a banana and that kind of stuff. But you know, when I'm at home, which is more than being in the office, you know, it's that pirate booty. Is that what it's called? You know, it's those corn puffs, cheddar. I mean, you know, that's addictive, and I won't even get into all the other snacks. So I think about myself, you know, as just being like a trained animal, you know, okay, I'm going to get a reward after I do this project or this thing, then I go in and get my snack. So, you know, use it to your benefit rather than a time buster. Okay. All right. So we're going to get your input here real soon. And so this just a quote from Mozart: shorter way to do many things is only to do one thing at a time. That gets at the multitasking piece, okay? What I'd like us to do now is just go ahead, I know a few of you have started already, is use the chat box to add some of examples for you about what makes you struggle with managing your time, okay? These are not strategies to how to improve. We're going to get to that. And put that in the chat box. So we have about online shopping, Prime Days, Angie got me. That is such a problem, Rachel, yeah. So go ahead and chime in. We're going to, social media, we have a, yeah, things, you have a family, of course, Melissa, right? You're at home, you're there for them. Virtual learning, 4 kids, that's a lot. Yeah, Christy, yeah. Household tasks right in front of you. Greta, you bet. Social media, Sarah, you bet. Don't overcommitment. That's right. We have that going on. Yeah, 2 times, 3 times as long. Oh, you got a kitten. I know. Yeah, COVID kittens and puppies. Yeah. I don't take breaks. Yeah, see, that can be harder because then what happens? We just keep working, and maybe we're not as productive. Jared, Beth, things that you're reading that stand out.
So yeah, I'm seeing some dwelling on certain things, feeling guilty that if you're not working, right? I know some people who work remotely regularly, even before this, and it was like, are people wondering if I'm like working at the right time, right? So it's that guilt of like, what are other people thinking? Nice weather if you want to be out. Chats, yeah, in like team. That's what I said too. Somebody just said chats and Teams. I think I have 4 different instant messaging programs, and I'm one of those people where like if I see it, I have to answer it. So that's really tough for me too.
Yeah, I think that
notifications all over the place. Yeah,
and those sometimes I know we're supposed to, I guess, have them on at times. That's the point of IM, but that can be, as the point earlier, a distraction, a big distraction. And so, yeah, the email pops up. I've had to take mine out. Was somebody trying to verbally chime in?
It was me, Scott. Keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Some other things that are coming up are things taking much longer than expected. And something I think that's a time buster for all of us is the uncertainty is how much planning do we do to the future, for the future. So some of you may be planning for for things that are going to start in 2021, and are we going to be able to do it, and how flexible can I make this so it can flex to whatever's going on in the world?
Yeah, that does. Yeah, thank you. That really adds to it because we don't know. Like with our business travel, for the spring, I'm sure it's going to come down soon. Has not announced yet, and so all that uncertainty. And then with our families, right? What are we doing for the holidays, for Thanksgiving, for the holidays for Christmas and Hanukkah and Kwanzaa? Are we going to do family gatherings or not? What's going to be the situation, with COVID? And those uncertainties are distractions. They're stressful.
Scott, there was another one that
Yeah.
we talked about at the beginning was having back-to-back schedules, right? So that
Yes.
you don't have even time to take a break or work on things because you're jumping from Zoom to Zoom or whatever.
Yeah, and I know one of our, 7 Zooms today. I mean, and so, I mean, 3 for me seems like a lot. And so you may want to decide, how you're going to limit, like your Zoom meetings per day. And I have colleagues who will put in, because if they have an assistant or if folks, have access to their schedule so that they honor the time they need to work on things, they will put just that computer work time in there on their schedule. And so it doesn't appear as being open. And so that might be a strategy to consider. So yeah, excellent chat that's going on. Home repairs. Oh my goodness. Our washer stopped working the other day. And I Googled it, I figured it out. It was just a matter of unplugging the washer. We had these with this, fan. Well, I think it's fancy. It's a front loader. And anyway, could just unplug it and it reset. But I was very concerned about that. Yeah. Boss literally scheduled lunch so that she at least 45 minutes. Yeah, nice. Yeah, it's Jared. Very good. Commute time. Yeah, I mean, I know many of you all would have a little commute, and in a way it can save time, and maybe that's something you noticed, but then also it's a way to focus right for your day, and it's also a way to come down for your day. And Lily, yeah, I have a short scooter ride. I like my scooter ride, especially when the weather cooperates, because on a scooter you certainly can't do hand-free talking. At least I don't have that figured out on a motor scooter. I know I just got a rental the other day, and oh my goodness, I mean, the stuff I could do, I thought I could fry an egg at some point. But serious, hands-free, it was, I think my text could read to me. I did not go that far, but yeah. Like, I feel Cortana is very helpful with possible outstanding tasks. Okay, to keep your tasks in a row. Thank you. Yeah. Sometimes having different kinds of packages or software to help us. I'm not as familiar with that. I know I get some emails on that, but yeah, if there's some links or anything to that to share, very good. All right, let's go ahead, and we're now going to move. Let's see if I can get this moving to some good news. All right. Good news about time boosters. And this is a picture of me. This was during the spring when it was a little cooler, and it's tied to maintain physical activity. I'm now using our trampoline more than my kids. One's 18, one is now 22, so I guess it's not too unusual. I'll get to that. But sleep, y'all sleep. You might think, okay, I can add more time to my day if I sleep less, and then I can be more productive. That is a myth. The booster to our time and being productive is to get the time that you need, right? I need about 7 hours. If I can get 8, that's great. Usually I'm saying it's because of my age, maybe I need to go to the doctor. I'm getting up on occasion. And so, I'm up at times, usually. But the sleep is so important. When you get what your body needs, you then have rejuvenated your brain, you've recharged it, you have refreshed your cognitive skills to be productive during that day. And this one is huge, even though I know everybody that's on, we do not give ourselves the sleep that we need. And there's a lot of studies about this. I need about 7 hours. You should have an idea. about what sleep you need. When I hear folks say, I can get by on 4, I'm like, are you sure? You know, is that just something that you've told yourself? You know, and then that can catch up to you. I know some people do take less sleep, you know, 6, on occasion I hear 5, but when you look at the literature, it really, you know, the bell-shaped curve, you know, probably, you know, 6, and then of course 7, 8's right there at the peak, you know, talking about adolescents, young adults, you know, 9, you know, 10. Again, I know none of us are getting those kinds of hours, but yeah, yes, there you go. Alicia's right. It's a time booster in this case. So even though I'm jumping on, we'll get to that. I'm jumping on the trampoline. So sleep, y'all. Sleep is very important. Okay. Regular schedule. All right. Do what works for you. We're going to get to timing. I know for me, I like to have a schedule where I get started in the day. Yeah, I take some time to eat. I don't work too much into the evening because, first of all, I'm pooped. But think about a schedule that works for you. You know, you hear about siestas, you know, Spain, I think they've gotten away from it a little bit. I know when I was there ages ago, I mean, things shut down, you know, in the really late afternoon. And so maybe if you're teleworking, you can do that, although pets, family, kids, that's not possible. That's connected to sleep. But regular schedule, think about a regular schedule for you to be productive in what you want to accomplish in that day, okay? Pomodoro Technique, what is that? This, you know, you'll see too, if you look up time management techniques and stuff, but was doing a workshop with our grad students, and one of them, Colby Gregg, he had talked about how he uses a Pomodoro technique. That's sort of where you work, you take a break, short break, you work again. And there's an app right here that I use that's called Focus Keeper. It's Tomato, I guess that the Pomodoro piece, but it's a free app and it's called Focus Keeper. And so Kate uses it. I tell you, for me, when I know it's going to be a hard day to focus, I don't use this every day. I hit start, and then look, you all, it's counting down. And then if you want to do this the whole day, you can. It has it in 12 chunks of 25 minutes. And they sort of work in 4 clusters, where it's 25 minutes, 5-minute break, 25 minutes, 5-minute break. And it does that in a chunk of 4. And then you get like 25-minute break. And that might be your lunch or whatever. And so for me, this has been very helpful. And for me, the reason it's helpful is I have it in front of me, and when I'm about to go to email, or I'm about to go to Amazon to shop or whatever, I look at that and say, you know what, I can get to that in my 25-minute break or 5-minute break. Like right now, I've just talked for 1 minute since I clicked start. Try it, you all. This one's Focus Keeper. There's others. Kate says she loves it. Sarah, this one's called Focus Keeper. It's free. And the technique is called the Pomodoro Technique. I think the reason why they call it that, remember, I'm not a chef, but it was in the shape of a tomato. When you're cooking food, it's like a food timer. You turn it and then, it goes down. That's where I think they get that from. It's a timer for when you're cooking food. And so they call it the Pomodoro Technique, but the free app is called Focus Keeper. And when you download it for free, it comes up as a tomato. It's that one right there. Okay. I like it. And I think I know Jared's, I don't think this is, they're not trying to, I think it's a legitimate, okay. And thank you, Jared. I think, yeah. And so, grad student had suggested it when we were sharing around, and I use it. It's very helpful. Keep that in mind. Physical activity. This was probably in April or so, or May. Those are evergreens behind me, so they're green all the time. But I tell you what, I get on that trampoline you jump on the trampoline, I know at my age, 50, was born in 64, I don't count anymore, but I mean, I'm tired in 3 or 4 minutes. I'm not like, sweating profusely, maybe a little bit, But this is a way I find, like in the middle of the day, maybe it's a walk. But the other piece around physical activity is do what is helpful for you, even if it's 30 minutes. That might be going to some kind of safe, workout where maybe it's outdoors. I know I go to this one place here called System of Strength, and I do wear a mask. Not everybody does. We're socially distanced. And I know they use all kinds of, safety protocols. That helps me, so much. But it's not just about, okay, I'm trying to stay fit. It's about, in my case, calming the mind and being able to be in tune to what I need to do today. Pilates, yes. Yoga, there's one thing I do on occasion called ebb and flow through that SOS, and it's yoga-like. I come out of there and it's heated. I feel like I'm walking on water because I've done some core stretching, and I'm just relaxed, and I'm so much more productive. I think it helps me more mentally than it does physically. So you all think about that. That might work for you. Okay. Yoga, Pilates, taking a walk is big. All right. It doesn't have to be, that you're training for some kind of long distance run. Okay. Be kind to yourself and others. Don't be too hard on yourself. We may have days that we don't do so well with our time. You know what? The sun's going to go down. It's going to come back up. And so when it does, we're going to start a fresh day. And so when we have those days that we're not doing as well, okay, be kind to yourself, move on, and then you got a new day coming. All right. So, all right, very good. We're gonna get your input here real quick. But I also somebody had brought this up in one of my sessions a few months ago, but it's some literature. It's a book, Daniel Pink, when it's really about timing, and he has not done the research per se. He's done a lot of research analysis about studies that have been done around like timing, around when you do things, the time of the day. It could even be, seasonal. But there's a few things when I was reading through it that I think that can be helpful for us. And this gets at like when you're setting up your own schedule, is like, are you a morning person? Are you an evening person? And that kind of thing. And so this is connected to that, but there's been studies related to this. And this question I'd just like to throw out: are you a lark, an owl, or a third bird? The third bird is actually his term, Daniel Pink's term. And the way you figure this out is that just think about the weekend or a day that it's not a work day, a free day, and go ahead. What time do you usually go to sleep on a free day? For me, I know you're like, well, Scott leads a boring life, but that would be maybe 9 p.m., 9:30. I'm tired. And then what time do you usually wake up? Well, even on a free day, I know it's 5 a.m., and I like that time. I got my coffee, I'm with our new puppy. He's now 1, so he's not a puppy anymore. And so like for me, think of those 2 times on a free day. All right, what time would you go to sleep and what time do you get up? And split the middle of those. So for me, if it's 9 p.m. to 5 a.m., that's 8 hours. The middle of that would be 1 a.m. And so there's a nice chart in here that and I'll just go ahead and share that with you. There's like a bell-shaped curve. Most people are what is called a third bird, which is between the hours. If you do that, what I just asked you to do, most people, 65% of people are third birds. That would be 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. with that midpoint of when you go to bed and when you wake up. For me, that midpoint is 1 a.m. And so the larks, which it's the least sort of skewed tail, it's the smallest tail in this bell-shaped curve. That would be, it's only like the percentage of people, it's like, it's like 1%. I guess I'm a little odd, but that's okay. I'm still a good person. And so larks, you're a lark, you're a true lark if your time would be between 12 a.m. and 3 a.m. And then the owls, y'all, the night owls, I know we got some night owls out there. That's a much longer tail of this curve, 21%. Larks make up only 14%. It would be, that time you would get would be 6 a.m. And then it just keeps 7, 8, 9, 10. All right? So think about that. Most of us probably on here are third birds. I'm a lark. I'm sure some of you might be. Some of you might be owls. And what they've done in looking at the literature is figure out what kinds of tasks, and they've done different kinds of tests, what I mean, like questions, analytic questions, insight questions and stuff. And what they have found is that when it comes to analytic tasks, that means where you need to be thorough, step-by-step kind of approach, methodical. That's what they mean by analytic. If you're a lark, you want to do those things in the early morning. If you're a third bird, early to mid-morning. If you're an owl, late afternoon or early evening. That's analytic. Now, insights have to do with creativity. Oh, and let me just, so to save time, I don't want us to run out of time, is analytic and make a decision are the same results that they found, okay? So what I just shared with you, it's the same. For insight, that's where you might want to, it's your creative side, it's being innovative, creative. For lark, it's late afternoon, early evening. Third bird, similar, owl morning. And you're like, wow, what's that about? What they found is that you're not thinking in that sort of structured, on point, focused kind of way. It's where you're sort of step back and all of a sudden that light bulb goes off. Okay, so that's why they found in those studies for it to be a little bit different. And you all, to make an impression for all of us, it's morning in general. So whether you're a lark, an owl, or a third bird, if you're not a morning person, it's still morning at 11 a.m., right? So to make an impression. So anyway, just keep that in mind. Y'all, these are generalities, so don't feel like that these are set in stone. Can others go between these? You know, I flew between a lark and a night owl. Yes, Angie, that would be the third bird. So the third birds, you know, are those that, now if you, Angie, you might be saying that on some days it varies. Yeah, so this though is based upon a free day, not a work day. So if you have free days that vary, yeah, you might fly as two different birds. That's cool, that's good. All right, that's sort of nice because then you can operate in different settings. The point behind this, let's not dive in too deep, is just think about timing where you can do your most important work, okay? I want to be, you know, my kids won't let me, yeah, Jared. And so I know for me, you all, if I'm working on, you know, an article or I'm prepping for this or for a class, I'm doing my best work in the morning, you know, up until 11 or noon. I need to be on point. You know, it's good we're doing this now because in the afternoon, oh my goodness. For me, for some of you all, it'd be wonderful. For me, I mean, I'd be bubbling and mumbling and bubbling and who knows what else. So, which I'm doing now anyway. All right. So again, quick quote here. It's not enough to be busy. The question is, what are we busy about? And so think about, you know, what you need to do in regards to the time busters and of course the time boosters, all right, to be productive. What I'd like to do now quickly, I know we're at 9:45 because I want to make sure we have time for questions and stuff, is please go ahead and use the chat box. We're just going to chime in here about time management strategies that work for you, okay? Just chime in here, okay, about time management strategies that work for you. We'll just shout out a few, okay? Ah, yes, turn off phone notifications. Wonderful. Very good. Yeah, Susie, setting a time limit. That's right. Type tasks. Yeah, put in a calendar. I was talking with a student earlier that came by, you know, and she uses a calendar feature in her phone, setting an alarm. Lists. I like lists too. You bet. Manageable lists. Yeah, to-do. I like it because y'all, I really like to cross things off a list. That's me. Yeah, laptop. Go ahead, Jared and Beth, things that might stand out as they're coming in.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of lists, keep tracking. Somebody said they joined a writing accountability group, so that's good, right? Have others help keep you accountable.
One of the last ones is sleeping. And for some of us, we have a much shorter commute time. I do miss my commute time, but it is much more productive. So I agree. I've seen a lot.
Francis, you break it down to 2 weeks. Yeah, I'm going to get this done in 2 weeks. Yeah, very good. These are good. Yeah, Beth, Jared, as you see those. We'll go just a few more seconds, about 20 more seconds.
Yep, some more lists. Getting off social media. Yeah. Telling your family, right? Or whoever else might be around you what you have going on so you can focus probably. Yep.
And if you have kids who are young, but they're still, smart enough to know like you're doing something busy, that's when they will walk behind you. Now mine's older, so for them it's totally intentional. But the young ones, they sort of know it is, and maybe they can get away with it. Right, Jared? I know that happened to you, and I know others, which I think is great. It puts y'all everything in focus, right? Very good. Get off social media list for sure. Yeah, Dawn, list for anything in calendar. Tell my family. Excellent, excellent. So again, you can scroll through these. They really, add to what we've been talking about already, with time boosters. What I'd like to do is just briefly, this again is in your handout and stuff, but Eisenhower adopted by Stephen Covey. There's this time management matrix, which sort of the whole focus is that it's better to manage where to focus our time at any particular moment. And they have these quadrants right here. And if you look at these on the both horizontal and vertical, on the horizontal column they have urgent and not urgent, the vertical one, important, not important. You can see examples in each of these quadrants. I'm not going to read them all. But that first one is where typically we're having to be reactive, and we're just having to deal with the moment. And you all, right? That is often today, right? With COVID, with family, with all the things going on, these pressing problems, social justice, racial issue, all of these, are very, very important, and they're urgent. And, we might have things that we need to, focus on, and again, depending on your position, right, when it comes to work, this might be where you operate, okay, because of your position. I know for oftentimes, and this can be any position, you could be in this quadrant, but I know just from being interim chair for a year, things come up and then you got to deal with them right away. That's just the way it is. And so depending on your position, you might be in this one a lot. As we're looking at this time management, think about it not just about work too, but sort of life, big picture. And then if you look at quadrant 2, that's not urgent but important. This one, according to the time management matrix, is really the sweet spot. Okay, this is not just about work. It does include work, but it's about relationship building, finding new opportunities, long-term planning can be work, preventative activities, personal growth, recreation. We can't always be in here, but what they speak about and write about with this matrix is that's the sweet spot. Like, for example, if we're looking at quadrant 3, again, these can be time busters, right? Interruptions, emails, popular activities. This is where we sometimes just have to say no. Quadrant 4, look, come on, we love cat videos, but sometimes we have to turn them off. It's just maybe scrolling mindlessly through the sales that are going online or Facebook. Quadrant 4, these are things especially we need to minimize, and say no to. So these are all a challenge because depending on our position, some of us might be especially like in quadrant 1, maybe quadrant 3 even. Quadrant 2, is that big picture, maybe something, maybe it's a curriculum that you're working on or some kind of training piece or some kind of, HR project that is going to make a difference in the long term. Maybe it's some kind of, I know Extension's rolling out, that mentoring piece. These things take a lot of time and energy, and so, but they're important. And so that's where they may not be immediately urgent, but long term they can be, important. And so placing my day into these, yeah, they would be, I know, yeah, right. And then, if you place your time in these during any given day, you might kind of say, hey, do I need to readjust my day? So again, this is just a tool. It's not the here all or end all, okay? And so check that out. I like this quote, the bad news is time flies. The good news is, you know what, we're the pilot, right? And so think about, taking charge. I know, depending on your position, especially where we're providing assistance, for our supervisor, you need to be here at this meeting or that meeting. Yeah, right. I know. Steve got 7 Zoom meetings. I'm sure you're probably leading some of them. But remember that you do have some control. Some of us maybe more than others, especially if we have young children. They're going to take a lot of time. But time does fly. And, in the big picture, y'all, our time is limited, right? That we have here, on this earth. At times, I get worked up about something. I'm like, Scott, really? Should I really be, worked up about this or that? Bandwidth, mental health. Oh, yeah. I have to look at that. And so perspective is really important. If there's about the book on joy, it talks about perspective with the Dalai Lama and Bishop Desmond Tutu. Perspective, I think, helps with this and thinking about really our limited time that we have, and I think that helps with managing our time more effectively. All right, so here's Timmy Kibble. Timmy came to us in March from a rescue. And he is half poodle. He's supposed to be a Cavapoo, which is Cavalier Spaniel, and poodle. He's actually half poodle, 12 and a half. We did one of those DNA tests online. Hopefully we didn't get scammed. But you send in these swabs, 12.5% Cavalier Spaniel, and then the 33% mutt, terrier and whatnot. But he's been a nice distraction, but sometimes too much of a distraction for those that have new pets. I know Beth has a new one in the house. They're wonderful, but just wanted to show a picture here of Timmy Kibble, like Kibble in Bits. I guess it's a play on Jimmy Kimmel, sorry. It's my daughter's dog, but Dosha, my daughter. But guess who Timmy likes to be with the most? Yeah, come up early, I'm feeding him, and we're going outside. He loves me, so even though they're just basic things, and he loves the rest of the family, but that's Timmy Kibble.
You're his alpha. He's decided you're the best.
Very good. Who was that, Angie? Yeah, very good. I'm just there, especially when I'm teleworking. My daughter is too, but then she's with school stuff and whatnot. But so yeah, we're at 9:55. Just any questions that you have? Francis is going to get a puppy. All right. Any questions that you have? You have provided wonderful input about time busters and time boosters. Again, we all can help each other with this. Questions or any other thoughts? I was hoping we're still ahead of time, but I was hoping we'd actually finish even earlier.
Scott, as they're thinking, I did want to add, I just put a link in the chat box to a survey. If you can take a few minutes, it's very brief. Just give us some feedback on the session and the program in general. And I do want to post, again, our web page that you can go to get information on future sessions and to register for those. So you can get that right there. But please take some time to give us your feedback. And I just want to take a moment to thank you, Scott, so much for your time today and for the tips and tricks to work through here. And I love that you kind of adjusted it to be for these uncertain times, right? Something that we're all working through right now. And I think probably much appreciated by everyone on today. So
There's been
thank you.
some great input that you all have shared with each other.
Yeah.
And you bet.
So,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you, Scott. Thank you, Beth, for all your work. And thank you to
Yes, thank you,
everyone
Beth
for
and
being
Jared.
here and for your time. And I'll open it back up for questions now if anyone had time to think of any.
And this active participation from everybody's been wonderful. I've really enjoyed reading the tips. And if anybody has any tips, I saw, and Scott, you may have a tip for this, trying to keep track of, I think some people are being asked to track their time and how long it's taking them so they can be accountable for their time. Are there any tips for that?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I think we can overlook the time that we're putting in. And so, what's the best way to do that? Maybe it's just being able to keep track of that with some kind of, I know that my phone has those timers and stuff. I would not, hopefully one doesn't have to be, super accurate with that, but just, in chunks about the time that you're doing. And think about when we're in the office, right? I mean, when we're in the office, we're working, but look, I get up, I can go around. I mean, Beth has to shut her door when we're in on the same days because
I don't.
I will pop in and start talking. So I just don't be hard on yourself that it means, okay, I'm absolutely productive at this very moment. So, just jot those things down in chunks, and hopefully that helps when you're keeping track of your work time. And sometimes, that work time, again, it is doing email, right? That is work time.
Mhm.
Or it is, I mean, this is ASO2 Extension. This is sponsored by Extension. This is part of your workday. All right. This to me is more, this is not just something to help us with our personal lives. These kinds of webinars that we go to are part of our workday. And so those should be, counted too. Yeah. Good question. And breathe. I mean, I know when I get, just breathing as sometimes during the day, I didn't mention, with the mental health piece, just that mindfulness practicing, being present in the moment, means sometimes just focusing on our breath. I know some of y'all probably do regular meditation, and that's often with doing breathing exercises, and one can even do that as, you're working. Ideally, you're just giving yourself, if you're using the Pomodoro Technique, maybe during those 5 minutes, that's a break. You're not doing even email or whatever. You're just in the present, in the now, and you're focusing like on your breathing. Those things are 4, 7, 8. Yes.
Yes. What's 4-7-8 breathing?
Yeah, so that's just a simple technique where you breathe in for 4 seconds, you hold your breath for 7 seconds, and then you exhale or breathe out for 8 seconds. And it's an extremely calming breath pattern. For some people starting out, it feels weird because that feels like a long time to hold your breath, but it really is nice and calming if you can do it. And there's several apps where they have like images that you can like do it to that like go in and collapse on
And
themselves.
you're getting more oxygen, right?
Yep.
And I know,
Yep.
like in that ebb and flow group thing that I do, it's a lot of it's breathing. And I was just sort of doing it as you were talking, Jared. And I mean, I feel better.
Yeah, that's the goal. It kind of calms you for a second, gets higher oxygen level to your brain, and calms you down.
Fitbit, Lydia, very good. Wonderful. Using technology as an app to use. Excellent. Do you have advice on how to prevent multitasking? Rachel, yes. Yeah, I mean, that one's a hard one. And so I know for me, it's turning off my notifications because I love like to multitask, like with emails. And so turn off your notifications. Hopefully you can be in a setting to not have as many distractions. And so like for me, when I'm teleworking, and again, I'm up early, the other folks in the house aren't up, so I'm not distracted by them. I need to probably move my laptop because, they're coming down the stairs, usually in proper, attire and stuff. I think they forget, but then I'm distracted. And so, the setting that you're working in might help, Rachel, with distractions. And they do pop up. Sometimes when we think about that time matrix, depending on your position, there's going to be urgent things that come up that we do have to. When they do, if you can, hold your place and then focus on that task instead of going back and forth between the two tasks, if you can. Excellent question, and it's always a challenge, but think about what you're multitasking at. For me, it's often the emails and the other things that pop up. It's closing Chrome, my browser sometimes, so I'm not tempted just to quickly look at something on the internet, right? Whether it's news, sports, or shopping. I'm not a big shopper, okay, even though I keep saying shopping. I'm not a big shopper, a little bit, but it still can be a distraction. Yep. Those are good. Yeah, very good. You bet, everybody. Yeah. Where we are right, we are a little over, so yeah. Thanks everybody.
Again, Scott, and thanks everyone. I'm going to go ahead and end the record, but we can hang around for a few more minutes if folks need to. But thanks again to everyone for being on today.
Thanks everybody. Have a good day.